All right, so you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you're psyched on the idea of starting your own business. However, you're a little bit nervous because you have these ideas for your potential businesses. However, how do you know it's actually going to work? How do you actually know that this idea is worth pursuing and not just going to be a complete waste of time? Right? Like, you want to know before you invest time and energy and before you take the plunge and you leave your W-2, you want to know that the likelihood of success in this business venture is high, right? Now, here's the problem. The reason why most people never actually make the leap into entrepreneurship is because they get hung up at this phase of the equation, worrying about, is this actually a good business idea? Or maybe they have multiple business ideas. Maybe they have 3 or 4 or 5 to choose from. And they're like, I could go this way. I could go that way. And now they're like, I want to pick the one that has the highest probability of success. But because I haven't started yet and I don't know, there's really no objective data yet to point to say this is better than that. And so what many people do is they will start side hustles around all 3 or 4 or 5 of those things. And what they say to themselves is, you know what? I'm going to give all these a try. And we're going to see which one rises to the top. We're going to see which one takes off. And then that's the one that we're going to go all in on. And this is the worst idea out there. And yet it's the one that so many of us have fallen prey to. I personally have done this in the past. I totally understand it. But the thing is, any idea could potentially be a great idea. And I'm a firm believer that there is no such thing as $1 million idea. There's just $1 million execution. So any idea executed well can make you a ton of money. But there's a lot of hubris to think like you can launch 3 or 4 or 5 different ideas simultaneously and that somehow one of them is actually going to take off in that equation. Truth is, you're much better just picking a direction and doubling down into that thing, and that focus that you apply to that avenue is likely to pay dividends in some meaningful way. So all this to say is, if you have ideas for your business, do not jump into multiple at the same time, especially if you're new and you don't have like the muscle or the resources yet to even fathom something like that. You got to pick one. You have to pick one idea to pursue relentlessly. And that's going to maximize your odds of success, which, here's the truth, guys, is that your odds of succeeding in this game of entrepreneurship are very low. Like, one of the things I maybe have done a poor job of in the past, talking about my story, is how, I went from being $80,000 in debt to very successful monetarily, at least, within a very short period of time. But so much of that was due to the fact that I just got really lucky. On that first business, I just found the right business model that fit my skills, and I executed it really well. But it could have gone a different way entirely. And the truth is, most people's first, second, third businesses are going to be absolute failures. Does that mean it's not worth pursuing? Absolutely not. Because the things that you learn in launching that first, that second, that third idea, even if they go to 0, the things that you learn in that are setting you up to maybe succeed on the 4th, 5th, or 6th opportunity. And that success, in the moment when you're failing and you're having these opportunities just like crater one after another, it can be very demoralizing. Like, what's the point of all this? Well, the point is, when you finally do get to that successful opportunity, you're going to look back and be like, holy crap, I could never have gotten here if it hadn't been for this like cemetery of failures behind it. And also, the success makes all those failures worth it. Okay, so those are 2 things there to think about. Okay, now the reason I bring this up is because I have a friend who DM'd me the other day on LinkedIn, and he said something that I think a lot of us think about when it comes to launching a new idea, and I believe it's completely the wrong way to think about launching these ideas. And I hope this can bring you some value, even if you've already started your business or you're starting to think about maybe making a pivot to another opportunity, because at some point in your entrepreneurial journey, you're probably going to have doubts about what you're doing. Like, should you keep on the path or should you pivot? Or if you're brand new to it, you're like, how do I know that this is the right idea? And so this is what he said. He said that he's currently showing this start. He's debating between 2 paths. He's like, I don't know if I should just, get a job or keep doing my own thing. And currently he is showing a startup idea to a dozen or so people to validate whether it's worth pursuing at all. And he's like, I'd be happy to show it to you if you're interested. Okay. So this is what I see people doing all the time, is because they're not sure if the idea is actually worth pursuing, if it has, a viable marketplace, They're like, I'm going to go poll 12 of my friends and see what they think. Like, do you think this is a viable business option? And the reason that this is a really bad idea is, one, your friends don't know jack shit. Your friends don't know what a good idea is. Like, unless your friends are all 12 of them like successful business people with decades of like launching different opportunities left and right, like their feedback is less than useful, because I'm guessing most of those people are working W-2 jobs. They haven't started any businesses. So what do they know about, is that viable or not? And so that's just right there off the bat, not a group of people that you should be taking advice from, because what do they know? Like, and if it's an idea that's like tangential to anything that those people are even doing, what do they know? Like, you could tell me the idea for your app, and I'm like, that sounds like a pretty damn cool idea. But I don't know. I'm not even the person you should be asking for that advice from. The only way to know whether a business idea is good or not, and here's the shitty truth, guys, the only way to know if a business idea is good or not is to start the business and start building, to go out there and get your first customer. And that's the important part of that equation. It's not just to go out there and get your LLC. It's not just to go register with the state and get your tax ID, or to get your business card, or work on your branding, your logo, and your website. Fuck all that. It's not about that. The most important way, the only way really, to vet whether an idea is good or not is to go out and get a customer. Go get somebody to pay for the thing. And if you can get somebody to pay for the thing, ideally before you even made the thing, then you know you have the potential for a business there. But people get so hung up in the business plan and like how they're going to monetize and all the things that go around owning a bit, like building a business, all the websites and like the logo, the branding, all that stuff. They get so hung up in that they forget the only thing that keeps a business in business are customers. And so if you want to know, will this idea float your boat or not, go out there and try and find a customer. And you can find customers far easier than you think, right? I can't remember who it was, but it was some startup guy. He's like, if you can't sell me on your product before you've made the product, you have no chance of selling me after you've made the product. Now, there's a lot of ways that you could go about this. It doesn't necessarily have to be that your customer even knows that you haven't made the product yet, right? Like Kickstarter and these projects where they're like, hey, once we get this funding, we'll go to market and we'll manufacture this thing. Like, they don't have the product yet, but they're testing to see, is there a market? Are there customers who actually want to buy this thing? This is even easier when you're doing services, not just a product, but you're like, hey, I want to mow lawns. I want to paint walls. Like, if you can't find a customer before you've done all the pretty infrastructure stuff of like the website and whatnot, then you're never going to succeed after you do those things. So in the beginning, if you have this great idea, to my friend, I tell you this, like, you don't need to tell me your idea, because my opinion does not matter. You do not need to tell your 12 friends, because in the time that you're taking to get all that feedback, you could have created a minimum viable product and gone to market and tried to find customers. And that, I'm telling you, the first dollar in the door is going to tell you more, or it's going to tell you nothing. If you don't get that dollar, it's going to tell you more than you would ever get from just polling your friends. Your friends don't know. The only person who matters in this equation is the customer. And so if you're trying to figure out, will this business idea float, go find a customer. I'm telling you, that's the way to start this thing. And once you get the customer, once you get the sale, you can wait list them if you don't have the product done. You can say, oh, you know what? Actually, we're sold out. And like, I'll get back to you when the thing is ready. If it's a service-based business, then you just figure out how to service them and you go service them, But first, go get the customer. And once you've done that, once you've vetted the idea through that lens of, okay, people are actually willing to give me money for this thing, then you can start scaling and worrying about all the other frilly things that go into building a business. So hope this brought you guys a little bit of value. As always, I am so psyched to see you, to have you here. You guys rock. Seriously, you make my day. Every time you leave a comment, you shoot me a DM, like, it just brightens my day a ton. It truly makes all the time that I spend in my office here talking to myself worth it. So thank you guys. As always, love and adore each and every one of you. Can't wait to see you back here tomorrow. But until then, stay hyper-focused, my friend.